about the recent events. We got our election uh, last Monday. So some of you, still have hangovers, or what I mean, still have may mga effect pa rin yung mga previous events. And yung iba, yun yung I think nagiging reason not attending the class. However, just to remind you, um, upon checking kanina with the update on the SSC, petition pa lang ng mga students yung nandun. So wala pa tayong approved memorandum of cancellation of classes today or the next few days. So here we are. We'll have to move forward and conduct our classes. So if may mga students kayong or friends, and actually for the sake of the lesson, help them with your notes and provide a recording for them. So kung may extra device kayo, have the session recorded para dun sa mga absent for today. So yun lang, let's move forward. Let's start off with our attendance. Quick present lang. Let's have Africa. Sorry, Africa. Wala. Okay, Aguila,
Present po.
Aliguin, Arroyo, Bakar,
Present po.
Alosa. Okay, got that. Arroyo, thank you. Ilya, Arengal,
Present po, sir.
Siniza, Cruz,
Present po, sir.
Cubos,
Present po, sir.
Quezon, El Campo,
Present po.
De La Cruz,
Present po.
Los Luengo, Herrero, Kigwet,
Present, sir.
Gao,
Present po.
Thank you, Herrero, Ladaga, Lim, Madria,
Present po.
Gadja, Naib,
Present po.
Manuel, Morales, Oloricissimo,
Present, sir.
Ortiz,
Present po, sir.
Ganiban, Fontanares, and Santos. Okay, let's start. Thank you, Pangaliban. For today, actually, yung topic natin for today is very light. Madali lang siya, though madaming data. So, for the assessment or mga exam natin for the midterm, medyo magiging, let's say, extra load yung mga or yung lesson natin for the midterm since maraming data kayong need i-memorize or i-consider with. However, madali lang yung lesson. Actually, you could learn it by your own or read it by your own. However, I'm here to present and to, provide extra details for the lesson. So, yung lesson natin today, as you could see on your screen, is physical characteristic ng runway. Presentation of parts of the airport. Characteristic, the wind. I got the data. I'll present you the data. So, ganun lang. So, really light topic, but again, extra load to memorize since marami tayong data. For example, yung mga clearances, slope, ito yung data na kailangan natin and data na mandated by the law. Check yung previous presentation natin sa prelim. So doon magbe-base yung mga data natin for today. So let's move forward. So there we go, module number 1 for our midterm. We'll be dealing the parts of the runway indicated or divided yung contents, runway, rest clearway, stopway, and other stuff. And we'll be dealing yung mga physical characteristic or the actual numbers na provided ng ating CAAP or ng ating local authority. So let's start off with the runway. So ito yung breakdown ng mga topics ng runway or for the runway. We'll be dealing with the factors, the crosswind components, the location, yung actual length natin, and other data that we will be needing on a construction or on a building of the runway. For me, no need naman to actually on point na or in detail na i-memorize to. However, of course, kailangan sa assessment natin. But in the field, magiging extra tool to sa inyo na alam nyo na ito yung mga given measurements or nandito yung given measurements or meron tayong given measurements for this specific criteria, especially if you will be working with the local authority, with the CAAP. Of course, they manage yung mga runways natin and aerodromes or airports, and with the aerodrome operator, or if you will be working sa technical department ng isang airline, you will be associated with this kind of information. So, mahalaga na alam natin na this criteria, meron tayong given na numbers or measurement. So, ito, we have the breakdown of the runway or for the runway. So, for the next slide, to start off, so our first topic is yung important factors to be considered when building the runway. So, of course, yung factors talaga na mauuna or a factor na mauuna on building a runway is yung ating magiging economic impact doon sa actual location ng airport. So doon magsisimula yun on picking or selecting the airport. And ang current trend ng selecting ng airport or aerodrome nowadays is nilalayo nila sa city or it's outside the city. Before kasi, ang growth ng urban cities ang mga ports, not just the airport but yung mga for boats also, yung mga major transportation is nakapaloob sa city. However, ang naging problem, 10 years, 20 years after, nagiging congested yung ating mga cities. And this leads to mitigate the problem. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, yung mga construction ng bagong airport or selection ng sites is outside the city na. So we got construction from Clark, from Bulacan, from Cavite. So it's outside the Metro Manila to help decongest yung outgoing and incoming passenger volume. And of course, with the air traffic. So after that, or after the selection of the area of the airport, ang magiging next consideration is yung pag-select ng runway. Of course, you got the area plotted, selection ng area, you got a lot of area to plot the runway, and yun yung unang consideration kung saan natin ilalagay yung runway. Of course, alam mo naman na doon sa selected area na yon ilalagay yung runway. However, we have 360 degrees to given kung saan natin i-exact locate or ihaharap yung ating runway. And dito na papasok yung consideration natin. Ang unang consideration or the two primary consideration is yung usability factor and yung alignment ng runway. With the usability factor, naka-base po to sa wind or magiging given wind distribution at that area and throughout the year or the following years, or yung magiging wind study or study ng distribution ng wind every year. So yun yung unang magiging factor to select kung saan natin ilo-locate or ihaharap yung runway natin within the 360 degrees. You all know naman that the aircraft or an aircraft flying, very, very important yung po na we take off into the wind. So not only with the takeoff, but with the landing, very much safer to land into the wind. So yun ang primary consideration natin, yung wind distribution para makuha natin yung usability factor. That's around 95%. And nagkakaroon tayo ng study using a windrose. It's a graphical tool na ginagamit natin on how to view yung wind speed and direction and yung distribution nito for a particular location. So windrose yung gamit natin. So ito yung example natin, picture on the PowerPoint, yung distribution ng wind or isang study. You could see yung percentage and yung wind speed. So as you could see na north to south, medyo maganda yung distribution at this particular location. And the second biggest consideration on selecting yung pwesto ni runway or kung saan siya haharap is yung alignment. Alignment in the means na or in conjunction with the obstacle presented doon sa area. Of course, even though na outside the city or the city ng isang country ilalagay yung airport, since yun yung current trend natin today, hindi mawawala na yung paglalagyan natin ng airport is of course civilized now, or we got structures located na doon sa area na yon. And of course, even though may mga powers or rights si Aerodrome or the operator with the obstacle, wala siyang right if nauna na yung obstacle doon sa certain location. So kailangan natin i-consider yung mga obstacle presented doon sa area na yon. And another thing, sir, paano naman pagka walang obstacle presented or buildings or current structures na presented doon sa area? Of course, magiging madali na yung isang factor natin, yung alignment ng runway. Another consideration dyan is or another thing to consider is yung mga permanent obstacle. Permanent obstacle includes yung mga mountain ranges natin. So sa isang aircraft operation, napakalawak nung masasakop doon pa lang sa actual operation within the aerodrome, if you view it on the map or on the air, and mako-consider or kukonsider din yung mga permanent obstacle. So pag may mga mountain ranges tayo, lalo na sa ating or within our country, marami tayong mountain ranges presented. So consideration din to on the alignment ng runway kung saan natin siya ihaharap. Since may mga procedures tayo to approach a runway and procedures to take off. So to summary, again, two major factors is yung usability factor. To achieve the 95%, kailangan nandun tayo sa magandang wind distribution. And another is yung alignment of the runway in terms of the obstacle. So ito, obstacle limitation surface to, presentation. I won't discuss this for now. May sarili tayong presentation or topic for the obstacle limitation surface. So let's move on. I'll take a note of these two things. Another consideration is yung crosswind components. So, kinonsider na natin sa usability factor kung saan tayo magkakaroon ng take-off na into the wind as much as possible. However, meron naman tayong mga crosswind components doon sa wind distribution. So, kailangan natin identify yung mga magiging maximum crosswind natin doon sa study natin ng wind distribution. And we got the numbers here. So, first number you need to take note. Maximum crosswind is 20 knots, permissible for a runway whose length is 1,500 and up. 13 knots. So I'm reading yung knots. Sorry. Nag-notify si Shopee. So 13 knots for runway 1,200 meters or up, pero hindi including yung 1,500. So that's less than 1.5. 1.2 and up, less than 1.5, 13 knots. So doon na tayo mag-focus sa knots since madali siya tandaan and yun ang ginagamit natin in aircraft operation. Next is for runway whose reference field is less than 1,200. So 10 knots. So we got three division here for the maximum permissible crosswind components. Next up is yung location of threshold. At least 60 meter in length should be available between the unserviceable area and the displaced threshold. Additional distance should be provided to meet the requirement of the runway and safety area as appropriate. So ang gusto lang ibigay dito sa atin for the location of threshold, papasok din to dun sa second factor natin kanina, yung alignment ng runway due to obstacle. Of course, yung location ng threshold will be the basis for our takeoff and landing. And napaka-importante to locate the threshold available or readily available from time to time. And considering yung unserviceable area and yung displaced threshold. So may mga times kasi na sabi ko nga may obstacle na before pa lang gawin yung airport or meron tayong permanent obstacle, nature na permanent obstacle. So kailangan natin i-consider yung location ng unserviceable area and displaced threshold. So I have a presentation here or picture if you are not familiar yet with the displaced threshold. So ito yung threshold natin. We got there the piano markings, and we got the displays threshold area. And I think naka-displace na to upon building nung runway. So, binuild na siya na naka-displace talaga. So, on my opinion, I'm not pretty sure, so I didn't know kung anong runway to. However, I could see it because walang original taxiway dito sa end ng runway. So, yung original taxiway or the taxiway was already built, displaced then. May displaced area lang tayo dito for extra. So, pwede ka mag-take